Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday, June the 25th. I'm Char Nolan, live from my kitchen almost in Philadelphia. Very happy to see so many of you here today. And I think we'll just get right into it because we have some very interesting questions. And I think not that I ever have a favorite question, but sometimes I do. And my favorite question today comes from Michael. Hi, Michael, who was curious to know about some keto pastas that are on the market. And there are many, many on the market. I have never made a keto pasta myself because uh, most of them contain either an egg white or an egg yolk or a whole egg. But I wanted to revisit Michael's query about zucchini pasta because um, maybe about a year or so ago, we were out to a restaurant and I ordered zucchini pasta, thinking that it was going to be steamed broccoli with, a little spaghetti sauce on it or whatever. And when it was delivered to the table, I thought that I died and went to pasta heaven. And I said to the server, "Hey, can you ask the chef what he did to the zucchini?" And the server came back and he said, "Oh, the chef said to come in the kitchen." So here is my version of this beautiful dish, and I hope that you can all see it. And a couple of things that you can, of course, use an easy spiralizer. This is a handheld spiralizer. I like it because it's small and compact. And if I'm teaching a class someplace, it's just very easy to tag along instead of one of the grinding types. And when you take a zucchini, it makes this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful strands of pasta. I do recommend to remove the peel because it's of a different texture and it cooks at a different speed than the actual zucchini would. So you would have all of your zucchini being the same size and of the same texture. And I make a very, very simple marinara. The one that we have in our program is quite good. Quite simply, if you go back to the beginning of the mushroom assignment, where you are sauteing and deglazing onions and garlic, that's the beginning of it. And then what I do is I add fresh quartered tomatoes to it so that the tomatoes help to thicken it up a little bit rather than using tomato paste because I don't want to add any more sodium to the dish, but I want to taste the flavor of the fresh tomatoes and the zucchini and the garlic. And some of you like to use whole tomatoes, some of you like to use diced tomatoes, some of you like to use puree. I don't know how many of you ever use a passata, but a passata is pureed raw tomatoes. And I just find that it gives a really nice flavor to any pasta sauce that you're making. My number one observation is that it's not from a can, so you don't have that metallic taste that sometimes comes through. And it just makes a really beautiful pasta sauce. And you're going to make your sauce and then throw the zucchini into the pan and cover it and simmer for about 10 minutes. And then what happens after the 10 minutes, and I'm just going to show, I cut these by hand. You can use a spiralizer, but a part of me likes to think that I'm actually eating a linguine or something like that. When you hand cut them, you can sort of designate whether you want to have a fettuccine or whether you want a linguine or whatever, rather than just having, a regular pasta. So it's totally up to you, but simmering the zucchini, do not steam them in a separate pot because you want during the process of the pan filled with a little bit of tomato sauce, you want the zucchini and those flavors to marry and come together. So it's delicious. I might add on it a little bit of some nutritional yeast. And then my favorite thing always is some crushed red pepper. And I would have this with a big salad, maybe a homemade fennel sausage made with oatmeal and wrapped in brown rice paper casing. So, Michael, I want you to try this because when you get into your kitchen and you see how easy this is to make, and one last thing, Um, this size zucchini will serve about one person. So we'll go back, you're going to peel it, and then you're going to take a potato peeler and you're going to make little ribbons of the pasta, and then you're going to hand cut them, and that will make a beautiful linguine or fettuccine. Again, if you want to have just a plain old ordinary spaghetti, you can use a nice little handheld like this. And I work sometimes with older adults who have arthritis issues, and they find this very easy because it's got a big doorknob on it. Oddly enough, it's made by Tupperware. I don't have a relationship with Tupperware, but this is my go to spiralizer, especially when I teach, because, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't take up a lot of space. One last thing, we're going to talk about lovely and delicious garlic. We have another question coming in about garlic and onion, but I wanted to say that more and more I run into people who say this to me. Oh, I don't like garlic. And I'm always like, you don't like garlic? Who doesn't like garlic? So you can use a garlic press. You can mince it yourself. I like to take this little handy dandy tool I have. It looks like it's a blade from a big gigantic potato peeler. And I just go like this. And what happens is that I get these beautiful, beautiful uh, little flakes of garlic. So this way, if I've made a pasta sauce, the person who doesn't like garlic doesn't have to, they can take it out with their fork or whatever. And you don't have to worry about your cutting board sort of adopting that aroma. So anyway, Michael, I want a picture of that zucchini pasta from you, and I know it's going to be beautiful and delicious. So thank you so much. That was a really good question. I really appreciated it. Plus, zucchini are in season right now. Oh, here is our good friend Laura C. Laura, you'll find her on social media as Artfully Plant Based. And aside from the beautiful food that she makes, right now she's been posting a series of, I believe they're watercolors of different fruits and vegetables. And they look so realistic that I'm ready to kind of dive into them because they look so good. But it's always good to see Laura here. She's just a wonderful chef, and I think that she has been through maybe 3 or 4 Ruby programs. So we love having her, and we love seeing how she takes a recipe page and then creates the most beautiful dish. So, to answer your question, yeah, I have a ton of gadgets, but I wasn't into the gadget mode today. But I will tell you this, these are silicone muffin tins that I got at the dollar store. And what I use them for is when I make cheese. So if I'm making that cashew cheddar cheese recipe that we have on our website, I just pour everything in there, and then I have 6 little hearts, and they look really beautiful on a charcuterie tray. And it didn't cost me a lot of money, $1.25 plus 6% Pennsylvania tax. So that's one of my little treats for today, Laura. And I know if you had these at your house, you would do some amazing things with them. So thanks for always tuning in and for your positive energy and your beautiful, beautiful work. We appreciate it. This is from Shannon M. Excuse me. Do you teach gluten-free sourdough starter techniques? Your starter is beautiful, but every time it turns out so dense. Unfortunately, I am not the bread maker, but what we will do is we will send this to customer service, student services, because we do have a lot of the instructors who are very much more familiar with this than I am. So I'm sorry I can't help you out, but we will resolve the answer to your question. Thank you so much. This is from Diane K, who had another great question, because I think, like many of us, we're really busy filling those freezer bags up with vegetable scraps, with everything from onion skins to zucchini tops to tomato cores. At least I save everything. And Diane's observation is that the recipe that we have for making stock comes out beautifully. It's that beautiful amber color that probably comes from carrots. Whereas perhaps in your freezer collection, you may have potato peels, or you may have the bottom of a beet, or the ends of a sweet potato, where your stock ingredients are lacking the vibrant colors. So I always try to add a bright orange carrot or a yellow carrot and maybe some tomatoes just to add a little bit more color. And the other trick is when you are making a stock, the smaller that you cut a vegetable, so you would want a small dice on a carrot, for example, it will ooze out, permeate more color for you. So you might want to try that. The other thing I recommend is I don't use any special solutions when I clean my vegetables, but I do have this really useful vegetable brush and I scrub my vegetables really, really well to get off any surface dirt or little teeny roots that still might be trapping around or something like that. So a good vegetable scrub brush is really, really helpful. The other thing I do this specifically with fruit, is I will take some steaming, piping hot water and I will hold, let's say grapes, I will hold them with forceps and hold them over a bowl and then pour the water off over them rather. And you will see all of this dirt and sludge and everything else come out of the grapes and that you'll have pristine looking grapes. So you might want to do that with some of your fresh vegetables before you use them as well, so that anything that's not visible to the eye will come off when you make your stock. But keep using those scraps because that's a really important thing. So thank you so much for that wonderful question. I'm sure that that's something that crosses everyone's mind. Good afternoon, Gwen. Nice to see you here today. Gwen is sometimes having difficulty finding ingredients referenced in assigned recipes. For example, uh, barley miso. Any suggestions? Well, there are a few. One thing I have to say, and I think most of you know that I completed the Plant Pro course 9 years ago, is I always looked at it as an adventure. So I wouldn't go to my conventional grocery store, nor would I go to Whole Foods Market, but I would go to my favorite store, which is H Mart, which is the world's largest Asian grocery store in the world. And H Mart had everything I ever needed for any assignment. So it might be, I used to set a field trip day for myself when I was looking for ingredients and making fun out of that adventure so that I would be able to get my assignment done. So I think sometimes thinking outside your favorite grocery store does make it easy. The other thing is a lot of people enjoy going to Amazon to find some difficult items. I did want to say one thing about the item that you mentioned, which was a barley miso. So if you are cooking gluten-free for someone, making a soup, shall we say, from barley miso might not be the ticket since barley is not gluten free. So you can go to H Mart where they have an entire section, a refrigerated section on every kind of um, miso you have ever seen in your life. So sometimes I like to buy a chickpea miso, which is totally delicious. Uh, Usually the gluten-free misos are made from soybeans. So you can read the instructions or ingredient label on the back of the box. So here's the other thing. Um, Miso comes in a myriad of colors. So let's say that you go to the grocery store and you can't find that barley. Just get a yellow or a white or a red miso, and when you do your assignment, you add to the assignment. I was unable to find, barley miso in its place. I use this brand, so forth and so on. So I think that sometimes we can't get caught up in the ingredients, but I always go to the Google and ask Google to help me find a great substitute item. So if you didn't have the miso, you could use coconut aminos, or you could also use a tamari, which will render sort of the same flavor, and it's also gluten-free. So I hope that that is helpful to you. And it was another great question. I love those questions so much. So thank you so much. So we have a question coming up, and I'm going to say that if any of you who are listening today, if any of you have any suggestions for Anna, I'm going to tell you what her question is. She's new, she's just starting the course. She would love any tips or advice to help her move through the course successfully. Um, and they are a private chef in Miami, and she's looking forward to meeting the team. So I'm going to go first. I did everything in order. I just figured that it would be a lot easier for me to follow along with what I needed to do so that I could contain the structure that's in the program because the program is very, very structured. However, look at a unit and there might be one or two recipes that might be first cousins and they might use similar ingredients. So I would make those the same week so that you have familiarity with cooking techniques, with ingredients, so forth and so on. And the other thing is, I recently had an experience where a student went out of order and fell behind. So the difficult assignments in a unit sometimes are the best ones to finish first because they do require usually more ingredients, more technique, and more time. So that's just something for you to think about. And the other thing is, I designated a day of the week to make that field trip to H Mart or to go to Philadelphia's Chinatown or to go to a Latino market to get a specific masa that I wanted to use. So I think it's just organization. And I also like, I love this course so much that to me it was just pure fun. So, add the fun element to what you do so that it can help sustain you during with your studies and also your work in Miami as a private chef. So that is a great question. So thank you so much for that. And if any responses come in, we will let you know. So this is probably, Lenny D, the question that I hear most from people about the cutting board. How many should we have? My strawberries tasted like onions. So there are a couple of things. I know some people uh, will work with wearing food safety gloves while they're working with onions or scallions or garlic, so that when they finish, they remove the gloves and then wash their hands because sometimes the aroma of the onion can linger on your fingertips. So I do two things. Well, I do one thing actually. So this is my everyday easy go-to, quick, quick, quick. I don't ask me how many cutting boards I have because the answer would be too many. But just take a marker and write the word onion on it. So one side is specifically for onion and garlic, and then the other side could be for strawberries or for lettuce or whatever it is that you're going to use. But I also have this old beat up wooden board that's just for onions only, and everyone knows that you only use this for onions, and that's how you remedy the situation of having things that smell like onion. I like what you did, Lenny, in terms of cleaning the wood with lemon juice. You could add some coarse or kosher salt to it. Pour the salt on, squeeze the lemon, and then scrub with a half of a lemon so the lemon sort of becomes a very natural Brillo pad, shall we say. And together that will really help to remove any negative aromas from the onion. So I hope that is very helpful to you. So, Mary R., I loved your question so much. And before we go live, I chat with Patrick, who's our producer, and I'll share this story with you because when I was a Rouxbe student, the assignment that intimidated me the most was the baked tofu assignment because I never ate tofu. If I went out to an Asian restaurant with my friends, I would only eat the vegetables and a tofu soup, or I just would never eat it. And the recipe that we offer has a beautiful, beautiful marinade. Um, and when you marinate it and then you roast it, and it comes out perfectly. So I didn't know if the people in the picky eater situation of your query were adults or they were children or whatever. But I took that recipe, and I hope you can see this, and I cut the tofu into little shapes. So if you have little children, it might be a fun thing for them to cut the tofu. And so this way they're somewhat engaged in the assignment. And there's some fruit and there's some vegetables, and they've got little sticks, and they can, certainly pick out whatever they want. Now, I will say, I often work with children, and this is something that I will make with children. But you have to be very careful with these little skewers because they can become poking elements for some of the children. So you just use a basic cookie cutter, and there you have it. And you can have a lot of variety with that. But the Rouxbe recipe for baked tofu is the best recipe I have ever made in my life, and it is tried and true. By the way, I cooked these in the air fryer, and I cooked them for the same amount of time at the same degree of heat that's recommended in the assignment, and they came out exactly the same. So that is a great question, and let me know what you end up doing. I'm also not a person who will make, I don't know, a fake meat out of tofu. To me, it's just a basic ingredient, and its recognition comes from its simplicity and how nutrient dense it also is. So let me know how the picky eaters in your world end up liking what it is that you make. That's a great question. Thank you so much. So this is from Alice J. And uh, of course, I turned to Chef Fran Costigan for a correct answer because I'm a baker who doesn't use any kind of sugar. I'll use refined sugar. I'll use maple syrup or date sugar. But Fran's recommendation is to use coconut sugar because it most resembles brown sugar, which, as you know, is a mixture of white cane sugar and molasses. Now, you had asked about date sugar, which is really good. However, it's a little bit more of a drier sugar than coconut sugar. So I think heading to the grocery store and looking for either Bob's Red Mill or the Wholesome brand of coconut sugar will be exactly what you'll like to try. And the flavor wise, it's really delicious. And color wise, it's a perfect match. So, very, very good question. Love it, love it, love it. This next question is from Anna C. Good afternoon, Anna C. She just wanted to tell us how wonderful the course is and that she loves to cook. Our family went from vegetarian to whole food plant based in February. Cooking without salt, oil, and sugar was a struggle until now. Oh my gosh, that is probably the best thing that I can hear because, as some of you know, I eat whole food plant based, no oil, no salt, no oil, no oil, no salt, no sugar, rather. Sorry about that. So I think that what I hear you saying, Anna, is that you have become very creative in the kitchen. And I don't know if this was your experience, but that no oil saute with the mushrooms, I think, is sort of a cornerstone in really establishing the confidence that you want to have in the kitchen when you cook that way. And also, um, red alert here. Some people don't like mushrooms. If you are at that assignment and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not a fan of mushrooms, try using a zucchini or try using an eggplant, another high water volume vegetable that will cook similarly to the mushrooms. So, Anna, thank you so much. That really made my day. We love reviewing the assignments, love seeing the photos, which takes me to if any of you follow us on social media, especially Instagram, we have two handles. We have Rouxbe Plants and we have Rouxbe. and tag us in your photos if you want to show off some of your beautiful work. We always like to repost students' work because it's really important that other people get to see how wonderful the program is, as Anna has said, but also the amazing work that you do with an online cooking class. And several months ago, we were on a conference call, and someone had asked if we were robots, if robots corrected the papers. And we all kind of chortled a little bit because we read every single word, and responding to you, offering our email address if you have any questions or whatever is really a fun thing to do. So, Anna, thank you again. That was really, really nice of you to say. So, this is from Svetlana. Good afternoon, Svetlana. She just got her first bag of Vital Wheat gluten. She wants to make seitan, and she had never heard of it before or tried it before our classes. Did we have any suggestions? Well, yes, we do have a couple of suggestions. So I happen to be a fan of Bob's Red Mill because it's just a very, very good product. And on the back of Bob's package, he has a really good, simple recipe for a seitan roast. However, I will say, without sounding partial, that the Rouxbe barbecued brisket seitan roast is probably the best piece of seitan I have ever eaten in my life. I have made it for friends who have said things to me like, well, I thought you didn't eat meat anymore. Well, I don't, but this beautiful roast is made for you. And every Thanksgiving, I cook food for 60 people in a specific community that I work with here in Philadelphia. And I make a turkey seitan, and I use all of the seasonings that one would use if you were making poultry. And I make it with a mushroom gravy. Um, and people are still amazed that it is seitan and not a piece of actual uh, meat. So Bob's Red Mill, easy recipe on the back, but the Rouxbe barbecued brisket seitan is the best in it. If any of you have made it, pipe in and tell us how much you loved it. So thanks, Svetlana, for that question. And I'll be honest with you, I would never eat seitan until I made it. I thought it was like, you know, just a creepy food, but now I love it and love to make it as well. So thanks again. Is there any way to know that a wine is vegan? Yes. There is a website called Barnivore, Barnivore, and it provides a full list of all wines. And then it tells you which ones are vegan and which ones aren't. And what I love about the website is that the ones that are vegan have a green check, and the ones that are not vegan have a red X next to them. The other thing I would suggest is if you are dining at a conventional restaurant, you may want to speak to the sommelier and see if they might be able to help you discover a really good vegan wine. All vegan restaurants, if they have a liquor license, of course, are going to be selling vegan wine. And for those of you who are saying, but they're made of grapes, it's not the grapes, it's the processing of the wine from grapes to that delicious liquid. And oftentimes, many non plant based ingredients are used. So that's the easiest way to explain that. Barnivore.com. And thank you so much for that question. I really appreciated it. This is from Laura C. And don't forget to go check out her Instagram, Artfully Plant Based, to see her beautiful artwork and her food. She's giving a course tip. This is a great one. Make a post-it to photograph your processes. She learned the hard way while passionately making sushi. And you know what, Laura? This is such a great tip because think of it this way. From your shopping list to putting your mise en place together, to taking every stage, creating every stage, and then writing a report where you want your instructor to know every little nuance of your assignment. And one time I got a beautifully written report or assignment from a student, and there were three pictures of her French poodle. And she begged for forgiveness because she totally forgot to take her photos. So remember that photos in online learning are a very important part. So, Laura, you're absolutely 100% correct about that. That's a very good point. Yes, post it note, don't forget to take photos. Very good. This is from Julianne, who's going to catch us on the rewind. And you know that shortly after the event, we will post the link so that if you were not here, you can catch us on the rewind and hear your question if you posted a question. So, um, this is one of my favorite questions. What are my go to pans? Well, um, this is a stainless steel pan that I have had for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. It's my go to for a quick, small saute. And it's stainless steel. It works on an induction stove top, which I use when I teach. It's very easy to clean. And you can see that mercury water ball so easily. And I love it. However, um, I was recently gifted, and you've heard me speak about this for a long time. This is the top to my beautiful caraway pan. And this caraway pan was probably, in my opinion, oops, there we go, was made for anyone who is into no oil cooking. And it caramelizes beautifully. Uh, you can throw it in the oven, you can use it on a stove top, and it caramelizes your mushrooms for the no oil saute so beautifully. And then here's the easy part, it comes with a special sponge specifically made for this, and it's just like wipe and clean. So I recommend this. Again, I don't have a relationship with caraway, but I totally, totally love and recommend this pan. And I love the fact that you can simmer and saute in the same pan, which I find very, very beneficial and helpful. So, to go back for one last thing, Julianne, one thing I also find helpful is head to a thrift shop. Head to a thrift shop and look for a stainless steel pan that is hardly used and buy that for $4.95 and play with it and practice with it so that you feel comfortable before you decide to go and invest in an organized set of pots and pans. But I think a good saute pan is probably what you need more than anything else. So I would recommend a good saute pan. Um, on the Charlie cart, and a lot of you hear me talk about the Charlie cart, it's where I teach cooking classes in Philadelphia. It is a 600-pound kitchen on wheels that has everything imaginable that you would need to cook, and it has Cuisinart stainless steel pots and pans, and I enjoy using those as well. But right now, number one in my heart are the caraway. So I hope that has been helpful to you. This is from Melissa B, and her question is, when using fresh mushrooms, how do you identify any parts that should be cut off that are aging? Well, I live maybe 20 miles from the mushroom capital of the world, Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, and have oftentimes interviewed mushroom farmers and have asked that question. So we'll go back. When you're at the grocery store, do not buy the mushrooms that are encased in that little blue pint container, and never buy the ones that are previously sliced, because they are now exposed to so much air that by the time you get them home to use them for your assignment, they are almost blackened. So that when you get to the saute stage, they almost become black, and your finished product, rather than being that beautiful mahogany brown that you're seeking for caramelization, a stale mushroom will turn black because of oxidation and other things. So I suggest to go to the loose bin, whether it be cremini or even a white button. And if you want to get, wild and get some trumpet or whatever, that's fine. But the minute that you get home, take them out of the plastic bag and put them into a brown paper bag because they suffocate when they are in a plastic bag and they breathe free and easy when they're in a brown paper bag. Keep them in the back of the refrigerator where you have the most constant temperature, and that's good. So you're good to go with that. And if they're aging, I happen to pop off the stems and will sometimes cut them into little coins and saute them as well, and then save any leftovers into that freezer bag in my freezer for making uh, a stock. So that's the mushroom question is always a great question. The most important thing is buy them fresh and store them in a brown paper bag. Oh no, we're coming to the last question. Um, this is from Crystal F. I don't do soy or any soy products. Are there any replacements for soy products? Yes, there are. First of all, as we mentioned previously, there are many, many types of miso that are not soy based. And there is one that is garbanzo bean based, and it's totally delicious. And it's also gluten free and soy free. So there's that. And then if you are looking to experience the the tofu experience, you can buy on the market commercially. You can buy something called Pumpfu, Pumfu, and it is a tofu that's made from pumpkin. Now, a couple of months ago, I taught a class in person where I made a tofu from lentils. And my goodness, it was the easiest thing I'd ever made in my life. It took 10 minutes and it ended up making the most delicious. I took the Rouxbe recipe for baked tofu and I baked the lentil tofu and it came out absolutely perfectly. So finding a recipe online, there are millions of them, but I certainly understand the need for some people not to consume soy. So pumpkin tofu, it's a little light green in color, and I wouldn't let that deter me. The flavor and the texture of it is very good. And when I made the lentil tofu, I used I used orange lentils so that it kind of had a lovely rosy color to it and it was easy to look at and didn't freak people out too much because sometimes people like to see familiarity in things that they know. So, Crystal, that was a great question. So, couple of things. Once a month on our social media, we highlight a student graduate and we talk about how they experience their time at Rouxbe and what some of their food philosophies might be. And then they send us photos of the beautiful food that they have made during and after the Rouxbe experience. We just featured Karina Pierce, who is from Princeton, New Jersey, who started a group called Princeton Eats Plants. And she's had some very exciting jobs. She has worked with Dr. Ron Weiss at the Ethos Farm in North New Jersey. And it's really fun to see how everyone just takes these recipes and makes such beautiful food. So if you are interested or you have a fellow friend student, send us a DM on Instagram and we will certainly add your name to the list. And for anyone who requests to be on the Forks Over Knives Facebook group, we we have to do a little research. And once a week, we post all of the new members. So if some of you are wondering, oh gosh, 5 days have gone by and I still haven't heard from anybody, but on Sunday night, check your Facebook because there should be an alert that you are now in the Forks Over Knives book at Rouxbe. So that is good. And check out our social media. That's where everything goes on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some of Michael's linguine zucchini pasta. And for dinner tonight, I'm going to heat up some leafy green vegetables and have some of that tofu. And I'll see you next month and wishing everyone a beautiful, beautiful day from the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. I'm Char Nolan signing off, and I hope to see you soon.